Hi, everyone online. Hi, everyone in person. It's good to see you. Thanks for coming in on what might be the nicest day of April. I'm not sure, I can't remember past yesterday, but it's nicer than yesterday. So thank you for coming in and being part of our community. Thanks for tuning in and coming online. It's nice to know we're all together. Let's start on our backs and give ourselves a little time to slow down. It's letting your physical body intentionally find stillness. So as you find your supportive shape on your back, knees can bend, feet can feel the yoga mat or the floor, carpet, ground. Back of the pelvis, weighted, and grounding through the back of the ribs and the shoulders, and releasing your head. You might explore dropping your chin a little bit, which might give the back of the neck the feeling of a little more length. And then feeling out your shape, pausing, breathing. And gently reminding yourself you have total agency over your practice. So if something doesn't feel supportive or safe or comfortable, please know you can totally back out of the exercise, out of the pose. You can come back to this shape, to any shape that feels safe and gives you support. So we'll settle here for about 3 more breaths. And then drawing your awareness to your exhale, your out breath, full commitment exhale. So the full commitment exhale is when we let go and naturally, authentically empty the lungs. We just let that exhale go all the way to the end. Feel the pause and inhale. Let's try 2 more. So exhaling all the way. Pause. Inhale. When we exhale, feeling how your rib cage draws down and in relationship to your navel, drawing down to your spine. So you feel your navel come in, your ribs knit down and in. And then there's tone when you inhale. We'll do 2 more breaths. So exhaling, ribs draw down and in. Navel draws down towards your spine. This is all more muscular. You don't have to force this to happen. And then with your inhale, let's take your arms up towards the ceiling. And then we're going to interlace your hands and bring your hands behind your head, actually. So, like you were about to do a sit up, Let your elbows float up. And then feeling this from your breathing. So we're moving in relationship to the breath. So as you feel your exhale, those ribs draw down, the navel draw in, then lift your head, just a piece of paper. As you exhale and feel the ribs draw down and the navel draw in, lift a little higher. And then inhale, lower the spine back down. So we're going to incrementally come up, right? So it's just a little bit at a time. From your breathing, you'll feel your inhale. And then your exhale, ribs draw down and in, navel knits. Like a seesaw, the ribs draw down, the head lifts a little bit. Next exhale, the ribs draw down, the shoulders lift. And then lengthen and lower down. This third one, we're going to hold when we come up. So I'm going to exhale, lift the head a little bit. Next exhale, lift the shoulders a little bit and just pick a place that you can come up, that you can hold without feeling too tight or too tense. So just the right amount of challenge here. And then tuck your chin and look down at your navel belly area. So when you look down there, we want to try and make sure that we can feel a neutral lower lumbar spine. So we don't want to extra push the low back into the floor. We want to feel a soft little lumbar curve, neutral spine, tailbone rolling out. And then we're going to inhale, lower the head, keep your hands behind your head and just take 2 or 3 breaths resting. So we're going to add a challenge that is more felt than seen. So the challenge, as you roll up and do maybe 3 to 5 more little sit-ups here, is we're going to try to keep that lower lumbar spine in neutral without gripping a whole lot in the front of your hips. Okay. So as you exhale, it's totally your choice. If you want to come up in little increments, feel free to do that. If you'd rather just lift all the way up into the little sit up, you can do that. But moving with intention on finding mobility in your upper back and finding stability and strength in the lower lumbar. So lumbar spine stays neutral. Try not to grip in your hips. And lower down. And then I'm going to be quiet for a little bit as you do maybe 4 more. Rest when you need to rest. So we'll be here about 30 seconds. You can always lift up and hold the sit up and check in. So if you're coming up, you can hold it. And notice, are you gripping in your hip? Are you tightening, holding too tight in your throat or your jaw? Are you holding your breath? Keep breathing. And then we'll do 1 more, and then we'll all meet on our backs. And then when you get on your back, letting your arms just come back down by your sides, feeling the floor, letting your body really rest down into the earth, into the floor. 3 breaths. Okay, and then we're going to roll all the way up or over and come on up to seated. We're going to find just a comfortable, easy seated shape for a moment. If you're at home or in your office, you can find a chair. I'm going to be here maybe a minute, 2 minutes. So I think we're going to go over just the basics of doing a healthy spinal twist. Okay. And then we're going to take the spinal twist into some lunges and some standing poses. So as you're sitting, find your lower belly. So you can define this from your navel down to your pubic bone. Okay. And then if you take that around to the back, that would be your lower lumbar spine. Okay, so this part of our bodies does not have a whole ton of rotation. This part of the low back is really built for stability. So we're gonna try and keep it pretty much stable without a ton of rotation. Okay, then we want to define this middle spine, which is your thoracic spine. And you can define it by your rib cage too. That's sometimes a little easier. This thoracic piece has lots of room for rotation. So that's where we want to find rotation. Okay. So we're going to take a moment to stabilize. So finding strength in that lower spine, lower belly area. Then defining your rib cage. And then just here on your own, taking your rib cage around to the right. And then around to the left. Notice what you feel. And just defining these two parts of your spine first. Low back doesn't move. So try to keep your belly button facing forward. And as your belly button faces forward, can you feel your lower, middle, upper ribs rotating? So we're going to try and keep this really simple. Come back to center. Okay, and then two things to watch for. Okay, what I see a lot is that we'll over rotate the neck. We'll just spin the head around like this. And we won't really get these lower ribs around. And the other thing I notice all the time is that we just swing the arms. We just swing the shoulder back like this. Okay, and then we don't really get the ribs. Okay, so we're going to find your shoulder blades on your back. Okay, so if you have to put your hand back there so you know you have them, feel free. You want to put your shoulder blades and stabilize them, pin them on your back. Okay, so if you bring your arms out into like a V or a Y, this helps me anyway, feel my shoulder blades. I'm going to draw my arms into the shoulder blade. Now I'm not going to move the shoulder blade. I'm not going to swing my arm open like this. I'm going to rotate the rib cage. And then the V moves, the arms move, and come back to center. Okay, belly button doesn't move. Low back, I'm really resisting using those muscles to support stability. And then the thoracic middle spine rotates. And maybe then my head goes, my cervical neck goes. Okay, so let's do two more to each side. Just on your own, you really want to understand and feel there's that lower back piece. Stable shoulder blades. Moving the rib cage, moving the shoulders. Make sense to those in the room? We're good? All right, so let's put your arms down and come all the way on up to standing. And then when you get up onto your legs, we'll take a wide stride. We'll take your heels in, your toes out. And then we're just gonna do your sumo squat. So going up and down a few times just to warm up your ankles, your knees, your hips. If you feel like coming down and taking a fingertip to the floor, you could do that. Touch the ground, come back up. Remember, you're trying to get your hip creases and butt to push back. Thigh bones nice and back and wide. Two more. Great. And then when you come on up, keep your legs wide. Give yourself 2 breaths. Bend your knees a little bit and really feel that center of gravity area. So again, from behind your navel down into your tailbone, pubic bone is going to stay super stable. Pelvis isn't going to move. Okay, that's your challenge, to stabilize the pelvis and the low back, and then move that rib cage just a little bit side to side. Doesn't have to move a lot. As you take your ribs around to the left, pause and check in with that right hip. What's happening? Did the right hip travel? If it did, find your right hip crease and draw it back a little bit in opposition. Then swing the ribs around to the right, pause. Did your left hip travel? Left hip crease draws back in opposition. And then going side to side again, just a couple times. So you might feel action and resistance. And then we're gonna come right back to center and step your feet together. Great, arms come down, give yourself 2 breaths. And then walk to the front of your mat. Grounding down, exhale, sweeping your arms out to come up. Bend your knees as much as you need with your inhale, long, strong spine folding forward. Inhale, lift your chest. We're going to pause here for a moment and let your shoulder blades just soften down your back. So sometimes when we come to this shape, we'll hike the shoulders really high. Just try and let the shoulder blades soften. A little more space from your ears to your shoulders. Fill up your back lungs with an inhale. Exhale, fold. And then we're going to step back, downward facing dog. So we did not really do a wrist hand warm up. So if you need one, here's your chance. You can always come down to tabletop, stretch out your wrists. You can always bend and straighten your knees. So moving your body as you need to warm up, to build your shape, to build your downward facing dog pose. Let's take 3 or 4 breaths. And then find some stillness in your downward facing dog and come back to your breathing. So remember when we were on our backs, as we exhaled, the ribs draw down and in, the navel draws into the spine. That's the same here. One more breath. Exhale, walk your feet up to your hands. We all have to come all the way on up to standing. So coming all the way back up, we meet in standing mountain. We give ourselves 3 breaths to come back into our bodies, to listen, to feel, to notice the breath. I'm going to take your left leg and step it back into a lunge. Okay, so take your time. If you need to walk to a wall for balance or grab a chair, do it. So you're going to be in your lunge. And then we're going to bend the right knee a little more and take that left thigh bone and really press it back to get some stretch in that left hip flexor. And we're going to inhale, straighten, and exhale, bend. Back heel is as high as you can get it, okay? One more. And when you bend your knees this time, just step the back foot forward. 3 breaths again. Both legs anchoring down. You can use your breath as an anchor to come back in and feel your body. When you're ready, feel your exhale and step your right foot back. Okay, so it just adds to the balance. I know it's a little challenging. See if you can look down. You want your back toes facing forward. Okay. Then you're going to take that right thigh bone and press it back in opposition. Let your left shin knee come forward. Right? So there's always some opposition. some internal sense of resistance. And then we inhale, straighten, and exhale, bend. Move from your breath so we don't all stay together. And then the next time that left knee's bent, you can step your right foot, leg forward, 3 breaths. Half of a sun salutation. Exhale, sweep your arms out and up. Inhale, pull those hip creases back and fold. Pause, lift your chest, let those shoulder blades slide down. Okay, so we're going to add a little piece. Feel how your shoulder blades are set on your back. Okay, so your shoulder blades don't need to move on your back right now. Just lift your chest a little higher, little higher, little higher, and bring your hands onto your thigh bones. Bend your knees as much as you need to not overstrain your lower back, and feel the shoulder blades on your back. Bring your hands to your sternum. Knit your ribs, pull your navel up, and twist to the right. Go back to the floor and twist to the left. Remember, you don't want to move your low back a whole lot or your hips. Trying to move that rib cage area. Back to the floor. Awesome. Fold forward. Step back, downward facing dog. You can come to tabletop or child's pose. Remember, you can do whatever you need to do. Come back to a shape for 3 breaths. With your exhale, notice the ribs draw down and in, the navel draws towards the spine. And we got to figure out how to come back to standing. So figuring that out, we'll meet back in standing. You can sweep your arms up and take a nice full body stretch if you'd like. Arms come down. 3 breaths to come back, using your breath as an anchor. Next inhale, left leg needs to step all the way back to that high lunge. Look down. You want your back toes to be facing pretty much forward if you can, okay? Back heel lifts. Right knee bends a little bit, thigh bone presses back. Hands can come to your chest. Okay, you can have your hands here or you can have them on your hips. Find your low belly. Navel to pubic bone, low back. That's going to be stable. Try not to move your belly button or your hips and spin around to the right. Can you feel the lower rib cage go around to the right? Back to center and then to the right. Belly button, pelvis. Don't need to move. Got it. One more time to the right. Great, and come back. Step both feet together. Exhale, sweep your arms out to come up. Bend your knees, long spine, fold forward. Lift your chest, bend your knees a little bit, bring your hands up onto your thigh bones. Find your low back, draw that navel up, stabilize that low back. Palms can come together. Twisting to the right. Twisting to the floor to the left. Can you feel your rib cage move and your pelvis stay stable? Back to the floor. Folding, stepping back, downward facing dog or tabletop for 3 breaths. Listen, feel, notice your body breathing. When you feel your next exhale, we've got to stand back up. So figuring out how that's going to work out for you. Take as much time as you need. 3 breaths in your standing mountain meditation. With your next exhale, right leg steps back. Build your high lunge, look down. Right toes are facing the front of the mat. Navel to pubic bone, low back stable. Hands can help stabilize, or hands can join up here at the sternum. Revolving that spine to the left and then back to the front 3 times. Keeping that navel facing forward with your hips. Really strong to support the rotation. After 3, step both feet together. Exhale, sweep your arms all the way out. Inhale, fold forward. Exhale, lift your chest, bring your hands up onto your thigh bones. Pause. Check in, get that low back really strong and stable. Bring your hands together, bend your knees if you need, rotating, looking over to the right. Back to the floor. Over to the left. Back to the floor. Fold. Step back, downward facing dog or tabletop or child's pose. 3 breaths. Feel your exhale. And then the next couple breaths, we've got to stand all the way back up. So slowly walking hands and feet together. Coming all the way on up. Give yourself a big stretch. Bringing your arms to the side. 3 breaths. So just using your breath as an anchor. Hang out 3 breaths. A little different this time. Exhale, sweep your arms out and up. Inhale, long spine, fold forward. And step your left foot all the way back. So you're going to take a low lunge. And you can let your left knee come down to the floor if you'd like. Okay. Or you can keep your left leg, knee up off of the floor. Your choice. You can go back and forth. Left hand's going to come right in by your big toe. Okay. And your right arm's just going to come out to the right. Lunge, twist. So keep your belly button facing the floor and twist to the right. And look over your right hip. Then look down to the floor. Look out to the right, lunge, twist. Last one, bring your right arm down and step your back foot forward. Good, come all the way on up, nice and slow. Stretch your arms to the ceiling. Exhale, fold forward. Now your right leg steps back. You choose, you can put your right knee down or have your right leg up. You can go back and forth. Right hand comes by your big toe. You can be on your fingertips or on your palm. Left arm comes out to the left. Lunge, twist, spin the rib cage to the left. And then back to the floor. One more time. Lunge twist to the left. Back to the floor, left arm comes down. Step your back foot forward. Exhale all the way up. Right away, inhale, bend your knees, fold forward. Exhale, lift your chest. Soften your shoulders. Fill up your back with breath. Exhale, fold, step back, downward facing dog or tabletop. Maybe child's pose. We'll take 5 breaths this time. Give yourself a moment to really just come back into your body with your breathing. Nice. With your next exhale, let's all just come down to tabletop. We'll build a nice strong table here. So lining yourself up, midline, ears in line with shoulders, in line with hips. So it's really easy to let your belly button drop towards the floor, right? It's really easy to let gravity pull those ribs down. So in opposition to gravity, the spine and the rib cage, can you feel it going up to the ceiling a little more? Like there's a magnet on the ceiling. Great. And then look at your elbows. There's a couple people in the room really hyperextending their elbows. So just look down at your elbows. You want your elbow knuckles to be out and your elbow creases to be in. Okay. So just checking that. If you want more challenge, curl your toes and then it's floating table. You're going to let your shins and knees float up, but table tie up might be just enough work. Pick one of those places, table or floating, and then rest. Bring your knees back down. Press back into child's pose. And then we're just going to take a little fork in the road. You could pull yourself forward. Let your shoulders come forward and do a little push-up. And then press back. If doing the push-up is a little challenging, maybe just come forward and hold here, getting used to load in the wrist. So if you're coming forward, you really want to keep your ribs knit, your navel up, and you're working against gravity, okay? And then if you really, really want to challenge yourself, you're going to do it on your forearms. So if you come forward onto your forearms and push back. I don't know about anyone else. I feel this is always more challenging because we don't do it as much. And so our body responds a little differently because it's not in our everyday kind of yoga routine to do things on our elbows. We'll do 1 or 2 more. Great. And then we're going to figure out how to come all the way into prone mountain on your belly. So if you were doing a push-up, this is a nice place to come forward, pull yourself forward. So you want to make sure your shoulders are over your wrists and then you can lower all the way down. Tuck your chin a little bit and get your forehead pretty close to the floor. Your nose will just hover. And you're going to put your hands down by your lower ribs like you're at the bottom of a push-up and give ourselves 3 breaths. And then we're going to try and feel longer. So like the crown of your head is going forward and you're pulling your toes back. So we could feel more length between your vertebrae. If your Vertebrae were beads on a string. We're looking for a little more length. And your shoulder blades are set. So if I could, I would come and press your shoulder blades down, and you would take a deep breath up into the shoulder blade and feel the lungs and ribs meet the shoulder blades. And then a lot like a twist, we want to stabilize the pelvis and the low back. We want to move that thoracic spine. So right between your shoulder blades, we're going to just try and feel baby cobra lifting the chest and lowering down. So ribs still drawing down and in, not overdoing it, but doing that navel to spine feel. Supporting the low back as you find mobility in your mid to upper back. 3 more baby cobras. Fabulous. And then coming down, just back to your prone mountain, take a couple breaths. So these back bends, these prone back bends are really similar to twists in a way. It's really easy to overuse our neck. We tend to be quite tight in the thoracic spine. Just thinking about all of the ribs that attach to the spine, so many joints, okay? So we're also really good at avoiding where we're tight and going to where we feel pretty loose, which is the neck or the low back, okay? So a little extra challenge if you want it, lift your hands just like a piece of paper up off of the floor here. So you could still be in this like push-up shape, but your hands are going to lift up off the floor. And then you're going to lift your chest a little bit and lower down into that baby cobra feel. So you want to try and keep that feeling of length and stabilization, strength in the low back. It takes strength to stabilize something. And then we're going to lower down and take your arms out as wide as your mat. We're going to walk your legs out as wide as the bottom corners of your mat. So coming all the way full circle, take a couple of breaths and exhale, try and feel the ribs draw down and in. That's going to help provide width across the back of the ribs. And then the navel to spine idea to help support the lower lumbar vertebrae. So we don't want to crank or hinge too much in the low back. With an inhale, lift your arms, lift your chest, lift your legs. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, arms, chest, legs, lift. Exhale, lower down. So maybe 3, 4, 5 more, moving slowly with intention. Long over high. So try to keep feeling really long, reaching your arms out of your legs. Rest when you need to rest. Back body strength. This is all posterior strength. Keep breathing. And then come all the way down. You can put your hands underneath your forehead. You can look to the right or left. And we're just going to rest on your belly for about 3 more breaths. Great. And then when you're ready, I'm going to roll all the way over onto your back. Great. We come back to constructive rest pose. Give yourself a moment to take a few moments, check in. How you doing? How's it feel? Do you need to make any little minor movements, adjustments to feel more supported? to feel more at ease. Great. Right leg's going to come up towards the ceiling. So we're going to do this figure 4 hip stretch. We did quite a bit in the hips today as well as twisting. So you're going to take your right leg up and then roll your right leg away from you. So roll your knee out, roll your toes out, and cross your right foot over your left thigh bone. Try not to use your hands. And then pick up your left knee and stack your left knee over your left hip. And so you have this figure 4 stretch here. You can find your right thigh bone and gently push it away from you. So your right thigh bone gently pushes out. 3 exhales. You might come back and try and feel lower lumbar curve. And with an exhale, releasing, bringing both legs back down. Just take one full inhale, exhale. And then switching sides, bringing your left leg up, externally rotating and bringing it over. Build the shape. Right knee can come up over your right hip. Remember how we started with the little sit-up? That feeling in the low back. Can you keep your low back nice and neutral long? So you're still connected into that neutral lumbar curve. 3 breaths. Exhale, bring both feet back down to the floor. Take an inhale, exhale. Awesome. Arms come back up towards the ceiling. Interlace your hands behind your head. Elbows come up towards the ceiling. Great. 5 little sit-ups here. So stabilize from strength, that low back, and just mobilize the upper thoracic spine piece. Stabilize, strengthen. Yep. Strengthen the upper back movement, strengthen the lower back stabilization. Nice. And then we lower all the way down. Take a nice full body stretch. Reach everything out nice and long. Keep your spine really heavy into the floor. And with an exhale, draw your arms up to the ceiling and bring them down by your side. We always take the last few minutes of class for self-care. So here we are. Come back and check in. Gently reminding yourself no one hears how you're doing but you. What do you need here? Right. Maybe you need some stretching. Maybe you need some stillness, rest. We'll take the next few moments in silence just to do what you need. Noticing what you're noticing. Just gently noticing your breath. Taking a little longer inhale. All the way back to that full commitment exhale. All the way through the full exhale to the pause. One more deep inhale. All the way full commitment exhale through the exhale to the pause. Taking a full body stretch or drawing your knees into your chest. We'll slowly roll over to the easiest side and come on up to sitting. When you get up to sitting, interlace your hands. We'll just do a nice upper body stretch. So anchor into the sit bone. See if you can feel the back ribs lift up as we pull up. And exhale, release. Thanks, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is so good to see everyone. It looks really beautiful out. Hopefully you can get out into the sun. No class on Friday, so see you next Tuesday. Thank you.